do you have to hunt to get a dry martini around here?
Ich bin ein Springfielder.
Shut the hell up. I've got the strangest feeling someone's gonna kick his ass.
Hello, peasants. Want to kill all humans? What's there, dude?
We'd like some money.
Yeah, money.
Money is cool.
Onto a scene. 10-6 Niner, 10-6 Niner, we got whores in the city. We need backup now. Don't be so dang literal.
Well, you've got one heck of a nerve.
Oh my God! The government is here. Run!
Hey, barkeep, whose leg do you have to hunt to get a dry martini around here?
Ich bin ein Springfielder.
Shut the hell up. I've got the strangest feeling someone's gonna kick his ass.
You guys, this is all Kyle's mom's fault. Shut up, Cartman. Kyle's mom is the one that started that damn club, and all because she's a big, fat, stupid bitch. Don't say it, Cartman. Wait. Don't do it, Cartman. Wait. I'm warning you. Okay, okay.
Hello.
All right, everybody. Once again, we are live here with Totally Toonular. If you're watching with us this evening, you will see our count is drastically down, but do not let that dissuade you from joining us in the chat on our YouTube.
Yeah.
Yes. James is out and about this week. Our fearless leader is working on a thing, but then I hear through the grapevine that he's actually not working on that thing this week in particular. He just wanted to avoid it and harass us online is basically what I've heard. But
Yeah.
Nicole, welcome back. You were gone for you were out and about last week. You were out and about last week. What has been going on in your world?
Shit, what hasn't been going on in my world? You know what I mean? But like, no, that's a good question. Thank you for asking. A lot of really different things have gone on in my life lately. One of them being that, as you said, I've been up and about, and I was in Providence, Rhode Island, and I vibed with a lot of really fucking cool art, and I made a really fucking cool project that I'm excited to share with the world. and it fucking feels great.
Does what is this unnamed thing? What is it called?
Uh, Let me hold off on talking about the name for a bit, but I I'll let you all know, like, when it's like pumped out and stuff. We're kind of just like working on it. What I could say to people that like are curious to know more about it is like, if you feel like for whatever reason you're held back from making the thing you want to make, you're not. It's not true. And people will tell you that you can't do it for XYZ reason. And like, you should just produce the art you want to make anyway. You know, like, just fucking do it, because you're gonna feel way better after it. It might give you some like clarity on your life that you didn't realize you needed. So yeah, I mean, that's just like what we do here in Totally Toonular, right? We just like make shit, and we want people to make shit. We want people to be like feel good and be happy. So that's like exactly what I did. And I feel like I hadn't really. So I directed this, Ben.
Yeah, tell us about the experience. That's what we're getting. I understand 110. Like, I back you entirely. You're right. Make the things you want to make. Do the things you want to do. You go around one time. One time may as well. But what, like, I guess the bigger question overall is, what was the experience for you? You shot stuff in the past, right? Like, you made the was it a stop motion animation?
You're right. I did work on a stop motion animation in college. You're right, and it was fucking cool. But that was directed by some person that wasn't me. And so this one was directed by me, which was really nice. I like had directed a few experimental films in college that were screened at James's Power Hour in New York years and years ago. So some people actually listening to this podcast might have seen them. And it was fucking cool to be directing again. I mean, they were experimental films, so there's no narrative there. It doesn't really have to make sense if you don't want it to. And that's kind of was helpful going into this project, being like, you know what I mean? Like, the past experience of working on experimental film, be like, oh, I'm just fucking making this. It doesn't have to make sense. It's like the same sort of vibe. It's like, well, this doesn't necessarily make sense right now to make it. Like, why should I do it? But then, like, making it, you like get an answer. So it's just like cool. Like, maybe just like, you know what I mean? Like, so going from experimental film to narrative.
No, I understand entirely. I guess I'm very curious when you say experimental. Sort of what do you? I guess sort of what do you mean? What sort of themes had you explored?
So there's two types of filmmaking. One of them's called narrative filmmaking, and one of them's called experimental filmmaking. And narrative is like what we watch on, like, like we'll see it streaming and stuff. And experimental filmmaking is just like the type of filmmaking that you'll just like take on. Just like, honestly, it's just fucking weird shit. It's just fucking weird shit. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. Maybe like David Lynch is like an example of like a mainstream experimental filmmaker.
Sure, but I guess what was your experimental film? What did you explore when you were in college?
Got it. Got it.
Speak to Nicole's experience. What did you make?
Fair question. Nicole Matarese made an experimental film about a clown, a sad female clown that like doesn't understand why the world doesn't just accept her for exactly who she is, and like puts on all this like clown makeup and stuff to like try to whatever, and then just like smudges it towards the end. And my lovely, beautiful friend Laura Benju acted in it, and she kind of looks like me, which is kind of fucking cool, because people are like, is that you in it? I'm like, no, that's not me in it, but like kind of, you know what I fucking mean? So it was cool. Really cool of her to like step in and do that for me. It's called Much Enough, and it's on Vimeo. And that happened maybe closer to like 10 years ago.
Right.
And like I had honestly forgotten that I had like directed something because just like, I don't know, I have imposter syndrome and don't really think about my art. And had that realization. I was like, wait, what am I talking about? I directed a short. Like, I was afraid, and I was like, oh, I've never directed a short before. Like, this is my time to direct a short. And I was like, no, like, I never directed a narrative short film. I've directed an experimental short film, and that is like the basis of me being able to continue to explore this. So
Well, ultimately, I mean, the experience overall is sort of the same. There are different things that you have to keep up with. If you're not really sort of paying attention to, like, I mean, basically everything I've done, I've never made like your like 1960s hippie acid on the wall, like the oil slicks
right. That's
sort
like,
of
yeah.
in motion or whatever. I've never really messed with any of that. I don't pay a lot of attention to the rules that I know when I'm making things on my own, which is a problem.
No, that's a
No,
good thing.
it's a problem. It's a problem, and I'll tell you why it's a problem. The reason why it's a problem is because eventually it does, at a certain point, if you're with the things that I have tried to make, it has become a challenge because the viewer's eye needs certain things. So they'll tell you not to cross the line for certain things, and people know, what the line is, right? You stay on one side of 180 of 180 degrees of your subject. And there are ways that if you need to get the reverses, if you need to cross that line, there are techniques that you can use to get on the other side of it in your edit and in your cut. I never paid much attention to that, and it boned me a lot when I was making stuff. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Were you finished, or did I just cut you off?
No. You're good. I guess the point that I'm sort of trying to make there is, like, while it's okay to skirt the rules, the bigger thing that I've always learned is it's better to know what rules you're breaking and why you're breaking them, why you're avoiding them. And for me, it was never purposeful. It was always a thing that, and in the end, when I started to look at cuts, I would be like, oh, I fucked myself. Like, I completely jacked myself up. Yeah.
Okay, I hear you. Oh, okay. Then we are on the same page. I wasn't, because I was going to say exactly what you said, is that, right, like someone once, someone, like a creative person that I admire once said to me, like, know the rules and then know why you break them,
Yeah.
So it's the same.
Entirely.
Yeah, like it's, right. It's not enough just to break the rules when you're making, let's say, again, like, let's rewind back. Like, Mad God, I think, is a really good example of an experimental film that we've watched on Totally Toonular. So, like, for context of the show, right? Mad God, I was onto something and I totally blanked out on it. I totally forgot what I was going to say. I totally lost it.
No. If you're playing, so to that end, you're suggesting that Phil Tibbetts sort of has bent and broken rules that he's aware of and that he knows.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Like if you're making Mad God, right? Yes. Thank you. If you're making Mad God and it doesn't make sense to the audience member, it doesn't mean it doesn't make sense to the filmmaker, right? Like, there's a difference between just breaking a rule and not saying you ever did this ever, just saying, like, that maybe there's some filmmakers that want to know, like, there's a difference between breaking a rule because you don't give a shit about it, right? And then breaking a rule because you're doing something different and you want to do something different.
Right. It's very evident when it's not a choice.
Yeah. Yep. It absolutely is. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I'm not, like, perfect. There are times, and, like, Ben, like, I know you've obviously been on set too. There are times you're on set and you're like, you know what? X, Y, Z, other things affecting me. I got to break this rule and I got to do it for this reason. But there's always, like, a reason, right?
Right. Absolutely, yes.
Like, even if that reason's not like a technicality when producing work, it's like, I'm breaking this rule because I have to eat. I have to eat lunch. You know what I mean? And that's okay.
So quick question. Like, how much do you want to get into, like, sort of the nitty-gritty of your shoot? Because you did a thing that I haven't really done and don't really have much of a desire to, except for seeing them in the wild or in the distant background. Without giving anything away, you worked with an animal actor?
Oh, I know what you're saying. Kind of, right? Kind of.
Yeah. How was that experience? Like, overall, like, so this is the stuff I want to know, because ultimately, like they say, never work with what is it, kids and
Children
animals.
and animals.
Yeah, I worked with a kid that was absolutely amazing. A
Oh,
couple of people
yeah,
in
I
their
know what you're
youth.
talking about.
Yeah, my
Like,
baby was awesome.
let me answer that question by answering let me go a roundabout way to answering your question, right? People will tell you can't do certain things, right? Because they're challenging.
Sure.
And they are challenging. Like, something that I really liked, and let's not talk about that particular thing because whatever. The folks that I worked with on it are parents.
Right.
I want to be like respectful of the dynamic there. They're, they have children. They're parents, they have children. Just
Okay.
because no one's ever stuck and doesn't have to produce things, right? Like, people will say, you can't do this because you don't have the time. Or, like, you can't do this because it's a challenge. Or you can't do this because, I'm trying to think of another reason. Like, you can't pay for it, right? I can't do it because I'm poor. And, like, all these things, like, it's true. Like there is the ability to not be able to do it. But if you do it and you accomplish it, you just feel like a fucking badass after. So if just like if you want to, like, not saying I did, but if you want to work with an animal in a thing, something's speaking to you and you should do it.
Did the animal behave? Did it do what it was supposed to do? Like this.
Do any of us behave? Let me talk to you after and just
getting,
kind of give you more details if you want to know about that.
Okay.
Because,
Very good. Yeah. Because I really do. What I wanna sort of get into a little bit is like I guess sort of the nuts and bolts, like the difficulty of the shoot. Did it extend your day? Did it extend your time? Were you able to get off what you needed to get off?
Yeah, we got everything. We got every. Sorry, I cut you off. Go on. Yeah.
Yeah, without giving anything really sort of away. Like, that's the big thing. So you got your shots.
Got all our shots.
Animal was decent enough to work with.
All the animals on set, all the humans, all the bugs, and all the birds and bees were really nice to work with. Yeah.
Nobody walked away wounded, jilted, or without a hand. So that's good. Okay, very good. Did so your team up there, we know one of the team members, he was on the show. So everybody came through, everything was good. You were happy with your actors, they gave you what you wanted.
Yep.
Great.
Absolutely. Yeah, kind of just like to step back and answer individual questions. We finished everything earlier than I thought we would.
Good.
We got all the shots in earlier than I thought we would. It wasn't easy,
No, it's not easy.
It wasn't easy to go to a new place I've never been before and immerse myself in an environment alone and meet new people and take on a project, and getting the camera wasn't easy. Figuring out where to get the camera wasn't easy. And what do I do with my time when I'm not working on the thing, right? What's the best way to spend my time when I'm not working on it? And I'll tell you what I did. I walked around the fucking city and all I did was look at art. That's all I did. I looked at art.
Are the potato heads still up?
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'll say yeah because Sure. Wait, I don't know what you mean. What?
So I've been to Providence once, and I
Okay.
went
you
in
like-
the summer of, pardon me, summer of 2000.
Mhm.
During that time, in New York, while I was so I was living in New York, and we went to the Providence Film Festival, Providence, Rhode Island Film Festival, Rhode Island International Film Festival. Pardon me, the riff.
Cool.
And then the night before the festival, RISD, Caleb Emerson from Troma, he made Red's Breakfast, and then he went on to do Die You Zombie Bastards.
I heard of that one.
Outside of sort of the Troma sphere. But he was still heavily involved in, he plays Carl Jr. in Poultrygeist. He's one
Okay,
of the Diaper
yeah.
Mafia guys in Citizen Toxie, all of that stuff. Anyway, at RISD, he was hosting an event, and in that
shit.
event,
I love RISD.
yeah, right. We partied with him. Everything was great, but that was my only trip to Providence. During the day, we checked into the hotel, had all this time. We're wandering around, and there were these painted Mr. Potato Heads all around the city, and
That's
I think
fun.
they were sort of sprinkled throughout the state. It was a weird sort of answer to what was going on in New York at the time, because in New York at the time, and I forget the artist, I forget the exhibit, I forget why, but there were all of these cows or bulls that were across the city, and they were painted. They were painted different colors, different schemes, different sort of patterns for different parts of town. And it was like a weird sort of call to that. But I very vividly remember a dollar sign Mr. Potato Head who's painted up like a dollar, and then like a golden Julius Caesar Mr. Potato Head, which was fucking bananas to me. Absolutely bananas. So were the Potato Heads still up?
So I did live before. Unfortunately, they were not. I
Didn't see any. Okay.
Or at least I didn't see any, and I really regret that, though. I would have looked for the potato heads. It's okay. I just I didn't see the potato heads. Not downing, they weren't there. I just didn't see them. But so you're speaking to something that I did notice, which is I think that Providence. I mean, look, we know a lot of fucking artists in Providence, right? And there's something to that. And there is just a lot of independent art there.
Right.
And just a lot of communication that I hadn't seen maybe ever, if not on at the very least on the East Coast, that just felt very authentic and not very Hollywood at all.
Sure.
There's something to be said because I think a lot of people on the show know that I've lived in Los Angeles and I've lived in New York City. So I've lived in both of these hubs of very, whatever you want to fucking call it, pretentious ass filmmakers.
Right.
Which I'm not saying everyone in those cities are, it's just they do, there's heavy duty budgets that go into certain things in both cities, right? And there's a lot of jobs that are competitive and hard to get, so it's very competitive and it's very challenging. And then you go somewhere like Providence, where there's just the absence of that level of competition, and it feels very freeing. And that might exist in other cities with independent art too, where it's just I'm here, I'm working on this thing that's true to me. There's no Jonah Hill doesn't live in the same city as me. Priyanka Chopra doesn't live in Tribeca, a couple blocks away. It's people give a fuck about your art. People just want to see you producing stuff.
I don't know. Loki. I've heard. What is it? I won't. I won't name names. They should go unmentioned. But Loki, I have heard. Rhode Island ruins everything. Is what I've heard in private. I won't say anybody's names.
Look. We all. Whatever. We all have our relationships to particular places, and I won't fuck with that. You know what I mean? people could live in different neighborhoods of Los Angeles and have entirely different experiences. That's kind of just how that city definitely is. I like that, just speaking from experience. There, I don't know, it just like there were a lot of places to look, and the reason that I spend a lot of my free time looking at art is because I wanted to be inspired by art.
Right.
And it was nice to be inspired by art that felt very authentic and felt very genuine and not for coin, frankly. I got together with some filmmakers that did not actually come to set. They are horror filmmakers. They have created the queer horror film called Death Drop Gorgeous that people could watch on Shudder.
Sure. Yeah.
Was very nervous to meet them because I find people that I admire intimidating. And met them, and they were so warm and kind and welcoming, and like I knew they would be, but had truly not understood to that extent how warm and welcoming someone could be until it was just very nice.
See, I have the exact opposite.
I'm really sorry to hear that.
No. I mean, with regard to like meeting people, there's no need to be sorry. With regard to meeting people, with regard to people you admire, I get a little butterfly, but then at the end of the day, for me it always boils down to, well, what are they going to do? Tell me to go fuck myself? We may as well talk. And if, we are able to like talk or communicate on any level, or if it comes down to just simply a matter of like, hey, I like what you do. And then I fuck right off. I've never, it's always been a thing with me. Even like when I first went up to Trauma, I'd been watching Lloyd's movies for like a decade, and it was one of those things where, because he is more the face than Michael,
right?
When you meet Michael and you're working in the office, it's very much like a boss employee relationship, right?
I could imagine. He seems very hands off,
and then
in certain ways. Anyway, whatever.
And then when Lloyd comes in and he is this face, this person that has been in your home, in your head, and you think you know him, it's a whole other sort of thing. Yep. But at the same time, also, again, there to do a job. Yep. So it was doing the job. So you break down sort of those walls. I don't really meet like a lot of celebrities sort of, I guess, like out in the wild, except maybe Tony Todd, but we were all working that day too, which is also a wonderful sort of thing. If you're doing any of this stuff and you're working with these people, again, it becomes we're all here in the same boat. None of us are in charge of anything.
Word. Oh yeah.
We can all just commiserate against, the man. Which
it's it's interesting you say that, because I'm with you, and it was challenging for me when I came to realize that just because someone is a celebrity and just because they are popular, that doesn't mean that I necessarily need to engage with them if I see them, right? Like, and there's a big thing with like LA with that, like, like Jonah Hill. Speaking of the man, my God, he's on my brain tonight, and he was just like canceled. So what does that say about that? But anyway, sitting behind us at a restaurant, right?
Right.
Just let Jonah Hill fucking eat. Who gives a shit? He's not gonna care if you say hi to him anyway. Just let Jonah Hill fucking eat. He's gotta eat. And then what it's more so for me, Ben, is that if there's an independent filmmaker or they could be a celebrity that I admire, like Post Malone, or if there's someone that I think is really communicating something with their art that I hadn't seen before, that I admire, I get intimidated to meet them, because it's like a vulnerability thing. It's like a thing where it's like, I see their art. I respect so much what they're putting into the world and what they're doing. And if they don't if they don't see me too, or if I don't see myself the right way, and I'm like not, I don't know. It's just like I don't know. It's just like, I mean, as you could tell, it's just easy to kind of, maybe for me, just to like reel and be like, well, what are they going to think of me, and what's that going to say about my art and my approach to how I see the world? So
Absolutely nothing. So, and I don't.
yeah, no, I mean,
mean
no,
to,
you're
like,
correct. You're correct, but it's like, and I think that in a like good world, I would take that out of my brain entirely. But it was, let's just like put it this way,
Yeah.
for where I am now. It was nice to just like meet
genuine, real
yeah,
people.
yeah. It was just
that
nice. Yeah,
cared, seemed interested in what you were doing.
yep,
And
yep,
that were excited to hear about it.
yep.
So
Yep.
for me, like, and again, I've also had a weird week, but we'll talk about that here in a second. But I'll tell you this:
Yeah.
for me, with stuff like that, like I ended up, like again, I've never, and I maybe the things I admire are weird.
I don't think that.
Well, so I ended up at a Green Jello show, and I've met Bill like a handful of times, right? Over the course of the years, like from 2012 through 2017. Hadn't been to, well, no, I take that back. 2018, we went to a show in Memphis, but he hadn't played Tennessee since like 2018. We bought the rights to Flight of the Skajakwada,
Nice.
and I had to reach out to him on Facebook. But Bill is one of those dudes that he's sort of like Lloyd in the fact that he is the most readily accessible human being on the planet.
That takes a lot of bravery, so that's cool.
All you have to do is just jump in his DMs. He does not care. He will answer. It's really kind of funny. But anyway, so when I was buying the song, and I'm sure I've talked about this here before, it was like, hey, here's the dollar amount that I can afford. Is this good with you? Yes, I actually need that much money to buy a new microphone for the show this weekend.
That's
okay,
awesome. Hell yeah.
cool. Will you sign this paperwork? Yes, I will sign this paperwork. And then it becomes a matter of, oh, by the way, I never saw you in the 90s, but I'd been catching the shows in Portland. I'd been catching the shows down here, all of that stuff. Love the puppet show. And then he starts telling me, oh, yeah, if you saw that tour, my oldest son was on tour with us then. He's now in China skateboarding. And then from there, it's like China skateboarding. Yeah, he turned professional. I don't see him much, but my other kid is selling cookies online. And then we start talking about his kids. And then from there, it segues into, we spent like an hour talking about old Memphis punk bands. Like after everything is signed, whatever. And all of that is just like just on Facebook Messenger.
Fuck
it's not
yeah.
even not a phone call, not a whatever. It's just a series of texts. So anyway, I end up at the Green Jello show on Thursday night. It was cheap. It was cheap. Jen was willing to go.
Oh, yeah.
And I had given Bill and his son shirts through the mail that never got to him. They never got there. And the whole time I was feeling like, oh shit, well, he's got to think that the weirdier guy is an asshole, and like that's not cool. So part of the reason why I made sure I went on Thursday was so I could get him these fucking t-shirts. Get him his shirts. He's sitting in the corner of the club. Like we walk in, he's sitting in the corner of the club by himself on the floor, face down, head just lit up from the phone. Like literally his neck is bent and he's got the phone so close to his face that it's just the light from his Facebook like lighting up his face. And I got these two stupid shirts and I leaned down and I was like, hey Bill, you sold me a song for my movie. And he's like, I've sold a few songs for a movie. And then I was like, yeah, I told you I'd get you some shirts. You never got them. And I was like, here they are. And I hold them out so he could see the design. And he was like, I remember this. And big stupid grin on his face. And he was like, thank you. And I was like, I got one for your kid in here too. And he was like, he's gonna love it.
That's awesome.
And then it just fucked off. That was, I fucked off. I went and found Jen again. I don't know. And maybe it's where I'm from. People who do things that I enjoy, I get very much like drawn to. Is a thing.
Yep.
To a point to where like I really don't care if I'm brazen or not. I don't care if they're interested in what I'm doing or whatever. I very much just want to be able to say thank you.
So yeah, I had a similar experience actually. I don't know if you're finished with your story, but I'm also happy to hold off.
Please go.
So I was in it's a few months back. I had a very, very similar experience, and I completely am on board with you. So I grew up loving Green Day, and they're still very near and dear to my heart. They really kind of made me feel very seen as a young person that didn't, and it was really nice. And I, haven't really kept up with them as much in the past few years, but like they like probably saved my life in a lot of ways, And I was in the Honolulu airport in Hawaii, and I'm like in line, right? And I'm like looking at this gentleman in line. And it's Mike Dirnt, the bassist of Green Day. And he's clearly in the middle of the line with me. He's not Billy Joe Armstrong, you know what I mean? Like he's not the face of the band that every fucking person floods to and bothers, and while they're, being a celebrity is a different thing, don't get me wrong. It's just like, he's probably not approached very often, let's say, as much as maybe his counterpart. So staring at this guy, and I'm like looking at him for long enough where I'm like, okay, it's actually getting, like if someone's looking at you for that long, that's, you know what I mean? Even if you're not a celebrity, that's weird, right? Like you feel that. So eventually, like, I'm like, just gonna be polite, whatever. Like, just walk up to him, like, are you Mike Dirnt? Like, I kind of like whisper it, and he's like, nods, and I'm like, great band. And he just like was like, and for people that who aren't watching, he just like mouthed thank you and did like the Hawaii like woogity sign. That was it.
Perfect.
That was perfect. I walked away. I fucked right off because I'm in the same boat as you. It's like, it's not, he made a big impact on my life, but like that doesn't mean that moment was about me necessarily, or that,
well, nobody wants to be bothered when they're traveling. I'll just put it that way. Yeah.
That too. And you know what? You make a good point. I didn't necessarily know that at the time, and I know that now. That's a good point.
I mean, nobody does. So a simple like thank you for your work, and then fucking off is perfect. Like nobody wants to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would be. It's one of those things where when it becomes about impact, you want to be able to fucking like say to the person thank you, and then like read a room and then just GTFO. Like that's me anyway too.
Me too.
I'll
I'm
also
in the same
do
boat.
that. Love it. Thank you. See you later. But we've got we're already getting questions in the chat, Nicole. There is no good way to segue into what we're talking about
let's talk.
tonight.
Can we talk about you though first? I mean, like, look.
No, we've been doing this 45 minutes.
Enough. I had a couple big life experiences. I really, like, to be honest, wanted the space to indulge myself.
You're good.
We're going to talk about Squidbillies tonight. It's gonna happen. It's a fucking badass show. Ben, can we just take a couple? I would love to hear about you if you want.
My internet was down. It was terrible. My internet was down. Did see Green Jello. That was awesome. Had tickets to Clutch on Monday night. Saw them for likely the 60th time. I really can't. I quit counting. I quit counting a couple of years ago. So it's probably about 60, somewhere in there. They were playing at what everybody around town calls the Mother Church. They were playing at the Ryman Auditorium, which is the original Grand Ole Opry. Wonderful set, wonderful show.
Oh yeah.
But but I mean, apart from like the internet being down, life being miserable, we're one step closer to Final Cut, which is amazing because we're about a week behind on that, and I take full blame for all of that.
It's all right. It's okay. You don't have to. I mean,
But
you could. I mean, you could take full responsibility. I feel like. I mean, I don't know. I mean, really, you could do whatever the fuck you want.
oh no, it's my fault. It's entirely my fault,
Oh,
and that's
okay.
fine. Yeah, it's okay. It's all good. I don't care either way.
Right.
I would rather own it than have to look at
Oh,
anybody else and
all
say
right.
you did this to me.
Word. Okay.
Because not all of them have ever done is just tremendous stuff. Amazing work for little or nothing. Definitely way less than they deserve. And meanwhile, I'm over here trying to figure out how to get my internet to work, and I still can't get my credits list done.
It's really fucking hard. I'm sorry. I worked on a 5-minute. I directed a 5-minute short this weekend, and it was really fucking hard. It was really rewarding, and it was really beautiful, but it was really fucking hard. So it's okay. But whatever. Go on.
No, and but that's really about it. I mean, there's not been a mountain of stuff sort of beyond that, but we're very, very close. I think we have everything in that we need in. There were a couple of things that when we were shooting that I neglected, which at this point is now a year and a half, and we finally got those elements in. Special thanks to John Bergio
Awesome.
for making one of those things happen. Again, I was going through sort of my Indiegogo list, and I was like, oh, crap, this is an important thing that I very much forgot.
Gotcha.
And I looked through our graphics list, and we did not have it. Bergio whooped us up a quick graphic, put it in a beautiful place, and I don't know. There's a guy named Bob that I was connected to about a month and a half ago for a visual effect. And Bob came through in a major way, like late last week. It was an effect that I'd been talking with Babette a lot about, and I can't really go into too much detail, but a thing that should be pulsating and gross and extra weird is now pulsating and gross and extra weird, and it makes me happy.
Awesome.
Apart from that, though, you know, once I finally got internet yesterday, I was able to start watching a cartoon that I love very much.
Yeah. Yeah.
So without much further ado, I think we should jump into the show at large.
I agree, and I apologize to everyone for the delay. I'll just speak for myself and say that I've been going through a lot, so it was really nice just to like talk about this project I worked on. And like, yeah, Squidbillies, this segues well. This could be the transition to Squidbillies. It was just what the fucking doctor ordered, I have to be honest. This show is fucking amazing. I cannot believe I didn't know about it sooner.
So you'd never heard of this?
I've heard of it. I've heard of it, but like, you know, I mean, just personally, it's like, okay, there's a lot of, you know, whatever. I'm like scrolling through. I'm like, okay, there's a lot of Adult Swim content, right? And like, there's a lot of like zany shows on there, and sometimes just like, I don't know, you could see a poster or a name of something and it doesn't draw you, you know, even though it's like on a platform you like, and it seems like something you like. It's just like, you're just not drawn to it. So I have not watched it. You've watched it though? Before?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. So, like I've known about Squidbillies pretty much since it debuted. I didn't really have cable so much, and I never watched Adult Swim like on the regular. Like it wasn't like what do you call it? Like appointment television or whatever. But I would catch episodes of Squidbillies on occasion, and I loved it. And then I would find the DVDs if I could see it streaming, if I could do whatever, because I think it was on the Adult Swim website. It's been on there, I think, since they had a website, and since Squidbillies was a thing. But what gets me the most is the voice of Early. So long and short of it, if you've never seen the cartoon before, if you have no idea what it is, it literally lives up to its name. It is a group of squid that are hillbillies and do the things that hillbillies do, right? They get out of prison. They they go back to their family. They take care of their illegitimate kid. They move in with their mother and their sister, and it is what it is. But early Kyler is the, I guess, sort of patriarch of this family of squid. And when you get to the show, the first episode is called this show is called Squidbillies, right? That's the name. That's the name of the first episode. Yeah, very first name. And finally, when they wrapped the series in 2022, which this is also fascinating. We'll just go tip to tail right quick. The absolute final episode of Squidbillies, when you knew it was over, was called This Show Was Called Squidbillies.
Oh my God, that is so
Yeah.
good.
So they really bookended it. They gave it like that old school like alpha omega status. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Actually, I don't know what you mean, but I'm saying but I think that's fucking cool. Whatever it is.
The beginning and the end. The beginning and the end. The alpha, the omega.
Oh,
it's what God tells Jesus he is.
Okay.
Or no,
I don't really keep up with
maybe,
those two, so I'm a little out of touch.
Maybe Jesus says that. I forget. Something the Father, the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning and the end. There's a bunch of stuff in there. Anyway, long and short of it is though, everything that happens sort of in between is fascinating. The town that they live in. So never having seen this, and you pop it in.
Yeah.
So first episode. What's your initial thought as you're getting introduced to these characters?
Yeah. Initially, I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right. Another Adult Swim show we've seen a handful of times. You know, we've been doing this podcast for a while. I'm like, all right, here we go. So, you know, sounds kind of interesting. And then it just gets fucking like Tim and Eric on your ass. And it's like, and here's this like thing, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you're not expecting it. And it's like, just chaotic. You're not expecting it, and it's just chaotic, and that is so fun.
So they carry some of that throughout the series.
Yep.
How far were you able to get into it?
I honestly don't even remember. I turned that shit on maybe like let's say mid to season 1, which is not as much as I wanted to watch. I wanted to watch more, and also could not watch as much. And like I think I have an understanding of the world.
Sure. Yeah, and it gets more. It gets very much more. But they carry that notion of like popping into sort of some live action stuff here and there. What you're sort of referencing, I believe it's in either the first or the second episode, is it's the lady with the baby, and she's like, "There's got to be a better way."
Yeah. She
keeps going, "There's got to be a better way."
Yeah.
And that's every infomercial. That's everything. And that's, what is it? When they're getting sued for baby death trap. Baby death trap. Because they had made like baby hammock or something like that. I forget. But anyway, long and short of it, that world continues to grow. And by the time you get to, I want to say it's like season 6, I started doing a little jumping around because some of the later seasons, and this is sort of a fascinating thing too. So Squidbillies ran its first 7 or 8 seasons, maybe 6, somewhere in there. It ran straight. So like 2007ish to 2014, it ran straight.
Wow.
And it aired every year. So you would get like 15 to 9 new episodes each season. And then in 2014, they went on a 2-year hiatus until 2016. Then you got the next 9. And then it was 2-year hiatus between the last like 3 or 4 seasons between each one. Now, by the time you get to the final season, star of the show, Stuart Baker, an artist who goes by the name Unknown Henson, right?
Oh, okay.
Unknown
Yeah. Unknown Henson. Yeah.
is the name on his birth certificate. That's his character. That's what he would tell people. Is what was the name on your birth certificate? It said or what was your daddy's name? Something like that. And it said unknown. So he was the Unknown Henson.
Nice.
Amazing musician, first and foremost. We'll start there. Amazing musician. Has played, he would headline his own gigs. The character of Early literally is unknown. It is Unknown Henson. To a point to where all that party liquor talk, all of that stuff was in Unknown stage act well before he ever became Early Kyler. Unknown is also a vampire troubadour, he's king of the country western troubadours, also a vampire, right?
Okay.
Has a song called Your Man is Gay, which is great, and it's basically where he's picking up on a chick because of all the party liquor that he's had at a local bar, and he's just basically berating her old man in front of her old man.
Wow.
And this is how he is going to swoon her. But he is Early Kyler. Now,
Wow.
Unknown, and I'm going to look this up just so I know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I don't want to mispronounce or misquote what Unknown said about Dolly Parton. But
Okay. Yeah. I think I saw some of that on his Wikipedia page. I'm scrolling through it, but yeah.
yeah, he got fired in 2020, right? After social media post about Dolly Parton and Black Lives Matter.
Oh, wait. Oh. You know what? I'm like, it's as you're saying that, I'm like looking over the Wikipedia page. And I'm like, oh wow, this is shocking. You know what I mean? I'm like, I just saw Dolly Parton comments, and then there's like, yeah, it just built. Anyway, do you want to tell us about it? Tell us more about it.
This is beautiful. So ultimately, he was canceled for making statements about Dolly Parton voicing her support for the Black Lives Matter movement. In making these comments, he referred to Dolly Parton as a freak-titted old Southern bimbo and a slut. And in another post, he continued to write, "Have fun forsaking your own race, culture, and heritage."
Wait, so can you say the first thing that? Because okay.
Yeah, he called Dolly Parton a freak-titted old Southern bimbo and a slut.
That sounds like a compliment. I'm gonna be honest. I'm sure he didn't mean it that way, but if someone said that all about me, I'd be like, "That's fucking awesome." If I were all those things, like.
So freak-titted old Southern bimbo. And then in another post, he continued to write about her, "Have fun forsaking your own race, culture, and heritage."
Yeah, no, I don't vibe with. But that is. He's a shocking guy. Well,
and everybody acts like this is, some cancelable offense or whatever. But somewhere in, I want to say it's late in the first season, maybe early in the second season, there's literally this whole conversation where the squids are against white people. They don't like white people, and you can tell, like, they basically are hosting what is their own version of like a Klan rally, but white people aren't allowed to be there. And it flips the racism sort of tip on its ear, because all of a sudden Sheriff is being talked about like he's a derogatory, because he goes, "Well, Early, I'm a white person. The mother of your child is a white person." And they keep talking about it. And the whole thing, I think, in this moment and in this show, is it's actually a really good statement about racism, and it points the finger at racist. It points the finger at the culture. And I don't know if they didn't necessarily get the joke, or if, and I think that must be what it is, because it actually is really a kind of a bold statement when you look at it, how foolish people in the Klan are, how ridiculous racism is regardless of anything. You know what I mean? And the fact that they're racist against white people, these squids, it's one of the fucking funniest things I've ever seen in my life. I love it. I love it. I think it's hysterical. I think it's a wonderful statement.
I missed that episode. I'm going to be honest, but I'm going to check it out.
Oh, you have to.
You have to. What season was it in?
I want to say it's late into season 1, maybe early season 2.
Okay, well, I'm going to check it out. There's something to that, right? So I'm going to just check it out and yeah. Yeah,
I think it's amazing. But Squidbillies touches also like on everything sort of with sort of Southern culture. Like from the notion of, there's an episode where Early goes to court and they're like, what is it? They're bringing him in for some other minor offense, and they have to end up like letting him go, but they're running down his record, and they're like, well, you've had, a bunch of like DUIs, you keep getting pulled over, and you've got 3 DUIs this week, and it's not even Thursday. Like, the joke just keeps going and going and going. And then they talk about all of his break-ins, all of his aggravated robberies. But then they still somehow have to let him go, even though they know he's going to be back in court, like, later that week, right? His sister Lil makes meth. Makes meth on the side while she does hair. And there's another wonderful episode where she goes into the pharmacy and was like, I have to show my ID for all these pharmaceuticals. I think she calls them pharmaceuticals, something like that. But the guy's like, well, now I have to ask you, you ain't going to use any of this for no drug stuff, are you? And she just laughs at him, and then goes home and literally like explodes the house into like a fucking, blows up her meth lab.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I want to say that's the same episode where Early gets the plot of land from Dan Halen. He buys a plot of land. What he thought was $37.50 ends up it's $37,000 and some change. Early's in over his head, doesn't know it. It's a pig farm that he decides he's going to make like a ham hunting ground. So all the pigs are there. He moves his family there. Lil starts making up all this meth, and then the pigs get hooked because of the chemical in the air, and then the pigs all like dwindle away to nothing. So they're inviting everybody out for this fucking to go hunting all these like bone thin, methed out fucking pigs, and it's one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
Can I jump in? Can I jump in
please,
here? Because something because I think like you're kind of speaking to, and I loved about this show. So you also recommended Xavier, whatever the fuck, Renegade Angel. I always almost want to say Xavier Warrior Princess, which is not. Yeah. Xavier Renegade Angel, you recommended that one. We watched it. Zaniest fucking show, loved it.
Right.
This one feels like a similar tone. I have no idea, but like in that kind of like unpredictability and chaos, but like fun in it too. I don't know. I just think there's something to that. This is where Xavier takes place in like this like world we kind of can't define, right? Like, because if I remember correctly, it's kind of just like he's in a fucking weird desert, whatever. This is like if Xavier were set in this like bizarro, like surreal, otherworldly Southern America.
Exactly. I mean, wildly different sort of animation styles.
Right.
But you're right. There is a level of anything can happen anything can go.
Yep.
And it often does. And where we start off our 12-minute episodes and where we end up are vastly different places, often not even connected.
And it was the chaos that really was helpful for me earlier in the week. So I like got back to town and really did need to turn my brain off,
Right.
And it was really nice to not have to keep up necessarily with a narrative that was just complex or straightforward, or like being like, no, you have to like, which is okay. Sometimes there's narratives where you feel like you have to pay full attention to get what the artist is saying. This one you didn't. This one, like, you could let it wash over you and like it'll just take you on a ride. You know what I mean? It's almost like if you're going on, you're going on, I'm not a fan of roller coasters. You go on like a teacup ride at an amusement park and it just does the work for you,
Right.
This show
Right.
just does the work for you. It's like, and it goes back to again. So the first episode is called, this show is called Squidbillies, and the last episode is, this show was called Squidbillies. There's like a level of, I don't know, like directness and indirectness that I really respect about the show, and I'm not entirely sure what I mean by that, but like something about making fun of like I'm not sure if it's making fun of white people or just making fun of like race relations as a whole or what. I would have to watch the episode to see. But there's something about very tongue-in-cheek about calling it chalky trouble that is just very smart.
Right. And that's S1E4. So that's actually a little earlier in than I thought.
Awesome.
S1E4.
Cool.
It is
Okay.
bananas.
I will have to watch that for sure. I'm very curious.
Sheriff
to see what the fuck
Sheriff
that's
is hands down one of my favorite characters. Later on in the series, you find out that there's actually a Cabbage Patch field full of sheriffs. So whenever Sheriff dies, that's no problem. A new one just gets plucked out of this field. And it's got all the memories, all the experience of the previous sheriffs. There are episodes where that comes heavily into play. And by the time you get to like season 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there, he's taken the smallest version of himself. There's a small, like, dented in head, weird, like, sort of clone sheriff that comes into play as like the detective version of it. And weirdly, he is smarter. He is more on the ball, and he is a much better detective than actual sheriff. The show goes into so many strange places. As part of his parole in the first season, Early has to get a job. There's one place for people to get jobs. What did you think of Dan Halen?
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay, so Dan Halen is the weird little egg-shaped man with the two legs on the bottom of his feet, right? And the big red, it's a big red like mohawk. He's basically the richest guy in town. He runs everything. And I want to say it's probably the second or third episode of the first season. Dan Halen is looking for a replacement because of all of these product problems that he has been having. Okay. All of the lawsuits. So he makes Early his CEO of his company, and then he makes himself an unpaid intern, so he does not have to take the brunt for any of what's going wrong in his business. Absolutely hysterical. and Early runs that for a while. Like for a while, it's a couple of 3 seasons before he steps down, steps away. Um, this show is ridiculously quotable. There is a charm to Early Kyler that is ridiculous. His son Rusty and Granny are probably 2 of my favorite characters.
By the way,
Yeah,
could
please.
I just want to like, so yeah, it's not that I don't remember because I didn't like, want to watch it or something. Like these characters, like, you know, it just that
It's a lot.
like,
It's a lot upon first viewing.
it's just
Yeah.
a lot. It's a lot on our first viewing, and I kind of took this opportunity to just, like I said before, kind of let this show wash over me. I didn't really have the time or the flexibility to like process it the way I usually do shows on Totally Toonular and the way I wanted to. So when you are talking about these characters, it's not that I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know what you mean. I didn't like, like I just like don't know. But I'll watch it again.
Dude, you're all good, Nicole. No worries. No worries. Was there an episode that you saw that did stand out to you?
The episodes kind of blended together, so I was kind of more so like felt like I was getting lost in the world, which is actually kind of nice about binge watching sometimes,
Sure.
It's like you're kind of just like or with a show with such a dynamic and unique world as that one. So like no, wasn't like an episode where I was like, that's the one where I'm like, that's fucking good. What I took particular notice to was like the little signs throughout the show, like the hats would say things that were like almost something you'd see in the South, or like, almost something you'd see in a dynamic like this, but a little bit like darker or okay, like there was the opening scene. Let me go back to like the opening scene.
Sure.
I forget what the guy's hat's saying, or like it's one of the opening scenes. This guy, one of the squids, is like robbing the store. He has the cashier guy at gunpoint.
Yep.
And he like hops down and he like takes off his mask and is like, oh, and can I get blah blah blah? Like it's like these folks embody a lot of different things you'll see in like a corrupt, I don't know, like location, but
so in the same,
it's like they also have each other's back.
So
and they're also just like, I don't know, it's actually very complex. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, in the same scene, if I remember correctly, the sheriff comes in as well, and the sheriff comes in as well, and he's like, "Early, is that you?" "No, that ain't me," and he immediately like gives himself away, and then like you say, he pops off, takes off the thing, has a conversation with the sheriff, then throws his mask back on as well. And it's this weird sort of Three Stoogie. It's so absurd. And literally, some of those hats I have seen, like all the ones about Booty, whatever. All of his hats.
Yeah, let me see if I could. Yeah, I'm gonna Google. So yeah, keep going. Yeah.
So many of those I've actually seen, like around. My favorite line, and this is the other thing, it happens way too early, but he says, "I ain't won jack squattery from the lottery," or all I've done is play the lottery and I haven't won jack squattery. But he makes it very simple, very succinct when he's talking to his family. The next day, he goes in and he's trying to pitch a trucker hat to Dan Halen. And he's like, "You're going to make a lot of money with this one, man." And he starts butchering the easiest line he's ever had. And he gave it away to the family so quick, so succinctly, absolutely hysterical. The next morning, it's like, I've done a lottery and I keep playing and I never get jack squattery from the goddamn
what I
lottery.
just realized?
And, yeah.
Sorry, no.
Please, no, yeah.
Something I just realized is that to the untrained eye, frankly, right? To the untrained eye, someone could be like, this is insulting, poor people, the South. And it's not. but to the untrained, and that's what I think is really smart about it, is that it's like actually really making, I mean, I know we talk about this all the time. It's really making a fucking statement about just like the absurdity of like human life.
It is.
And the amount that we kind of just like ignore it. And it's like, you can't ignore this. And like, could I, yeah, were you gonna say something to that?
No. I was going to say it is like anything else, very much so. I would suggest that this could be considered offensive to folks that live in the South, but at the same time, if you have any sort of relative like sense of humor about your space, you get the jokes, you see it, you can see it in the world around you. Because I know real living people that very much could be early, that operate in that same mindset. I know.
I hear you.
It's the closest thing I would have to equate it to is when I lived in Oregon, when I lived in Portland. Portlandia was a massive show at the time. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Portland hated Portlandia. Hated it. Considered it offensive. This isn't how we are. Oh, got all high and mighty about it, right? Well, guess what? You're way too sensitive because it hits home, because it hits you where you live. And that's why you're reacting like that, because it's a good send-up. And if you've ever seen Portlandia, it's one of the most banal fucking shows ever. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. So
there's an interesting this relates to what you're saying, and it relates to Squidbillies. So I recommended, I forget, I don't know. I'm like in a group chat with people that are like not, filmmakers, cartoon people, whatever. And I recommend King of the Hill, and I'm like, y'all, this show's so funny. Like, you really, like, I cannot recommend King of the Hill enough. And like my friend who like, it's fine, she's just like not as privy to like TV as I am, she just kind of has different interests. She's like, oh, like, I don't know, I never really like checked that out. Like, it seems like it's offensive to like that type of person that, maybe blue collar, middle class, just like seems to be making fun of like that type of person. And I like hope I didn't come off too strong, but I was like trying to just be like, I don't know, like I get what you're saying, and I think that at a surface level looking at it, it could feel that way, but it really kind of doesn't.
No,
it just doesn't.
I mean, I entirely get, and you're entitled to an opinion. You're entitled to everything, whatever.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if it's offensive.
Like,
it's not, who cares?
Like that's the thing. It just doesn't. Like, I know I've lived a different experience than someone in a situation like that, but I just like it. Just King of the Hill doesn't make fun of them. It just doesn't. It's just smart, and I think that Squidbillies. And if we can, I would love to read some of these hats that I just like.
But,
okay.
But
so I'm just,
real quick, what I think you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is while it is a send up of that environment of those sort of stereotypes, those people, that's all it is like a simple send up. However, the writing is smart, the characters are smart.
Yeah.
And while the subject matter might be a little, it might hit close to home for people who live in a rural area. Again, it's one of those things where when you really sit down and watch, smart writing, it's absurdist in a way that everything else is just the backdrop. Right?
Yes, and I would love... I am absolutely saying that, and I would love to bring it close to home if I can really fast. Like, and I won't talk about him for too long. I love Post Malone. He just dropped a new album called Austin. I was listening to it a lot when I was in Providence. It was really wonderful. He has a Call Her Daddy episode that he was on today. He's just, again, been relevant in my life. I think that he has a lot of that, where it's like, okay, like you see that guy on stage He's got a lot of tattoos on him. He's just kind of like has like these like teeth that are a little off-putting, and someone could just look at him, right? And that tends to happen. Like someone just like looks at him and is like, "Whoa, like that's not something I like." You know, like he used to wear like braids in his hair. Like that guy is a culture vulture. Like he used to, rap, and now he's making,
Sure.
like more emo music. He just used this culture to get famous. And it's like, okay, it's easy to look at him and say that, but like, have you listened to his music? Like, have you and I know he's a popular artist, and we don't often give popular artists the benefit of the doubt of actually communicating fucking something, because we're a bunch of fucking pretentious assholes, and we think once you're a popular musician, you're not, you just aren't saying anything. But he's saying a lot. And I think he genuinely just wants people to give a fuck about him. That's like, at the end of the day, I think he's just wants love and just wants to give love and doesn't know how to fucking do it.
So I'm gonna say a very unpopular thing, and probably a wildly insensitive and inappropriate thing, and I'm very comfortable with that. I kind of don't care.
Okay.
With regard to hairdo, you know what? Like, hair is hair is hair. I respect the fact that there are certain hairstyles that are associated with certain cultures, but you can't own braids in your hair. You know what I mean? People put braids in their hair. Like it shouldn't matter about it. Like so ICP used to have dreads. Okay, same thing. Rastafarian culture, we invented that.
Mm-hmm.
We whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I get it. But at the same time, it's also it is a hairstyle. It is out in the world.
Yeah.
I've never understood why what people do. And maybe it's me as a bald man. I'm very sensitive about that. I wish I could do things with my hair. But I've never really like cottoned to that so much. There are certain things like if you look at it, particularly like
hair,
braids, cornrows, and cornrows too. That's a tight braid across your head. I don't know, man.
Yeah, and let me tie this back. I mean, again, because you know how much I love to talk about him, so I'll tie it back to like, how I see Post Malone, let's say, and what I feel like he like. It's like maybe it was a mistake. Maybe it wasn't a mistake. Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe maybe to Joe Schmo, they look at that and they don't like that. Maybe to like, someone else, they're like, oh, that's cool. But it's like either way, it's like you're kind of still missing the point. Like you're not missing the point. What I'm saying is that's like there's like more than someone's fucking looks.
Yeah, of course.
More than someone's fucking looks. There's more than the hair someone wears. There's more than the tattoos on someone's face.
Sure.
There's a reason why maybe someone lives their life very loudly and their outward appearance is very loud. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe not having tattoos all over your face is a problem. I don't know.
Sure.
Maybe I'll just like again relate it back to him, which whatever, just like he's been very on my radar. Like who are like maybe someone wants the attention. Maybe someone wants you to talk to them and ask them, "Hey, why do you have tattoos all over your face?"
Sure.
The
thing though, the thing at the end of the day is like I've seen people that aren't white hillbillies with mullets as well. So like hair belongs to hair. Posty can dress how he wants to. People can do what they want to in this world. I think that's the biggest thing.
Right. And I think what I'm also just like adding to that is like that and like again tying this back to Squidbillies is like things could seem a certain way to you.
Sure.
And they're not. You could look at something, you could look at someone, and you could look at a piece of art, you could look at a human and be like, I understand that right away, right? Be like, in your brain, you're like, that's offensive, right?
Right.
That thing is making fun of this other thing. And I know that. And like, when you do that, sometimes it's not always the case. Of course, there's a lot of fucking nuance in this world, but sometimes when you do that, you're like missing something that someone's trying to communicate to you, and they're just not able to do it otherwise. And I think that Squidbillies really masters that.
Yeah. It takes you into a place, it puts you into an environment, and then it straight up and down twists it and flips it on its head.
Can I read some of these hats?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So the first one by the trucker hats, because this was honestly my favorite fucking part of the show. Okay, so the first one says, "I heart cock," and then in lower letters it says "fighting."
Right. Yes.
Free hat, limit 1. Breathe if you're horny. Booty hunter, and it's like a woman's ass up, and there's like a target on it.
Now,
remember
remember quick.
9/11.
Hang on, I'll let you get back to that one.
Yeah, I was saying that one's a good one, so let's get back to it. But yeah,
Booty
breathe
hunter
if you're horny
and breathe if you're horny are two that I think I've actually seen out in the wild.
Yeah, you could get Booty Hunter on Amazon, which like again, you see that, and it's like, whoa, what the fuck? You are like, fucking like that's a woman, that's a target, that's like that is really dark. And it's like,
what came
and
first?
It's like, yeah, and it's like, okay, well, like, why don't we take a step back? Like, why would that? What point is that making? Is it for you to actually say to yourself, "Hey, we shouldn't shoot women"? Like, is that what's it's asking you to question? Like that we shouldn't just have women objectified with their asses up in the air, ready to shoot them? Is that what's making you question? Is that why you don't like it?
Me?
No. Sorry.
I just
No.
think
No, not sorry. That is heavy. If you thought I was just talking to you,
I think
let me back
you
up a
might be
second.
going a little too deep with it. I just think it means that like he's out there looking for tail.
I think, let me back up and get us both on the same page, because I'm trying to say the same thing you are, and just if something's catching your attention, you're questioning it. Trauma movies do it all the time.
Right.
And there's a reason it's trying to catch your attention. It like wants you to think about it.
Got it. Yeah.
It might, when you listen to this episode, what I was saying might make more sense after that. It probably came at you hard because it sounded like I was talking to you and not the general you. So just, I'm on the same page as you is what I'm saying. I was like, I'm saying the same thing you are.
So I was like, literally, like, I don't know if it goes that deep, man. I really don't think it.
I got really passionate about it, and I was like trying to like. I got really passionate about it, and I was like, I think that.
Can I tell you what I think they did with the hats? In all honesty,
Okay.
what I really think they did, and to me it seems like what do you call it? It's Occam's razor, right? Like usually it is. Yeah, this is Occam's razor. Occam's razor it sort of makes the cutting clean is the thing. So basically it's usually the simplest answer is usually the solution to it.
Oh, okay. I've heard of this in regard to, yes, I've heard of this. Yes.
To life in general, right?
I've heard this, I'm going to be honest, specifically to Kurt Cobain's death, but that's a topic for another time. Go on. That's where I've heard about it.
So what it is basically for me, what I think happens with the hats is they're like, oh, he wears a hat constantly. Here's our character design. There's a wonderful big white spot throughout the episodes where we can put in a joke.
Mm-hmm.
It's like with The Simpsons, right? And they're like, oh, everybody who wears trucker hats, they've always got something silly on them. Joey, come up with one. Well, here's one I actually saw. And so he writes down booty hunter, 100% certified booty hunter, whatever it is. He writes that down, throws it into the hat. The next guy goes over and there's like, oh, this is a religious episode. Boom, here's one about God. Throw that in the hat.
Gotcha.
And
gotcha.
I think they may have spent 2 hours as a writer's room just coming up with increasingly goofy hat titles.
Maybe, but
it could
well, I shouldn't
be
say
more.
but.
It could be more.
I think like yes. And I think like, okay, I just did an improv thing. I'm so sorry. But like, let's talk about this Remember 9/11 hat for a second.
Yes.
Let's talk about this Remember and the word choice. And that's maybe I was having a challenging time communicating before. The word choice seems very specific, right? Because it's not saying never forget. It's saying remember.
Right.
You know? It's very different things. And I think it's the difference between saying never forget 9/11 and remember 9/11 is you should hold on to that, not be passive about it. And I'm not sure what that says, you know?
Sure.
Like you should hold on to that and you should carry that with you, you know, as often as you can, which like maybe some people do. Maybe some people, it's like a traumatic experience and never forget is a bit easier for them, you know, because like never forget. It's like, okay, it's there, but I'm not like carrying it with me every day. Remember 9/11 is like you're keeping it. I think it's another thing again where it's like it looks like it doesn't have a lot of depth and it might have more than. I might also just be a fucking really off the rails and not know what's going on, but. I don't know.
Okay. I'm looking it up right quick. So look at the Remember 9/11 hat again.
Okay. Oh, there's another thing there. Yeah.
It's 3 ones and it says irregular underneath it. So what it is he got the misprinted hat. You see what I'm saying? So instead of like never, I love where you're going. I mean, getting real deep with it. But at the end, the joke is remember 111, and then it's stamped irregular because the gas station was probably selling the irregular hats for cheaper.
That is a joke that my New York ass completely missed.
Well, I mean, yeah, you traumatized. You saw 9/11 and you're like, I've never forgot.
I guess that's what it is.
You're like, I've never forgot.
And then like you and I had very, very different upbringings, right? Are watching the same art and you're like, you know what I mean? And we're both like, maybe that's something that like, I just wanted to like, you know, be like, well, you know,
sure.
It's like I'm not just told never to forget this thing. I'm told to remember it, and like I don't know how I feel about that, carrying that trauma with me every day. Then you were like, no. You're like, wait, so I'm like familiar with this other thing. Just yeah.
Well, but I mean, in the hats are regular. Also, we used to sell clothes. My family did for a while. One of the things my dad did was he was a traveling salesman for a hot minute, and like so we would get shipments of clothes in, and one of the things you'd have to do is inspect it to make sure they're all good. Every once and again, you'd come across an irregular. So whether that's something like a printed shirt that maybe was double dyed or double printed, right? So there would be ghosting of the same print on it. You can't sell that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
That's quality check, but that goes in your irregular stack. And ultimately, you could sell that, but for way cheaper than you would sell the actual product that was made correctly. My favorite hat right now is no obla jibber jabber.
Oh my god! Like, see, like.
So that's, to me, that's like blatantly racist.
But I don't think that. I think that's poking. I think that's punching up. I think that's lowbrow, highbrow. I think that's what I know it's crazy. We've like flipped brains on this, but see, I think they're making fun of people that would make fun of people for not knowing the English language. And I think that's you know what I mean? Like, they're making fun of the right people.
Well, yes, but at the same time too, I mean, like that's the thing. That's where you have to get to appreciate this, because there are some like blatantly offensive things like layered in throughout here, and out of context. No,
Maybe I'm giving it
out of context, no obla jibber jabber. If you said that to someone, or you know what I mean,
fair.
you would
fair.
be looked at like you're a fucking asshole, like an asshole.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, if you are to just like say that aloud, yeah, that's fucked up. You're right.
And even though Early is our protagonist, at the same time, it could be argued he is also our biggest antagonist throughout the show.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Everything.
But I think that we're never rooting for.
Oh, I found
Early.
myself constantly rooting for
Oh,
Early.
okay. All right. I guess that's the thing, is that I like when I watch this too, and like I guess when Early, like, okay, like, it's true. If someone were to say that aloud, that'd be really fucked up.
Right.
When I see Early wearing that hat in this show, like, it's a similar thing where when I watch Always Sunny, I'm entertained, but I'm not rooting for them. I'm just like watching someone who is just maybe off the rails. Maybe that's not the right word for it, whatever. Yeah.
So back to these hats. Here's another one that I love. It says taint.
Okay.
It says taint one, and it's got a picture of a cat, right? And then it says taint the other, and it's got a picture of a chocolate starfish. So it's like, you know,
That one, I have no idea what that means. I can't dissect that.
do you know what the taint is?
I do know. Yes, that I know that. Oh, okay.
Taint one, and it's got a picture of a pink kitty. You get what I'm saying?
Oh,
So
okay.
it's not the vagina, and it's not the butthole, which is the chocolate starfish, right? So
Okay, yes,
it's his
yes.
taint hat. It's his taint hat. I love that. I think that's hysterical. I think that's like an elevated joke. If you catch that while you're watching it, I think
That's
it's
fair.
amazing.
He's wearing a hat. There's another one. Too funk to drunk. No, sorry. No, let me take that again. Too funk to druck.
Yeah. Dude. See,
Hold my hat while I have sex with your wife is another one.
so there's one, and I also really like this because I think it's very funny. And I was born around what they call the stars and bars, right? The old rebel flag, okay?
Oh, right.
So it's early in his it's early in his rebel flag hat, and it says, it's supposed to say heritage, not hate, is supposed to be the hat, right?
Okay.
The word not is scribbled out, and the E is scribbled out on hate. So it says heritage hat. Is all it says. It says heritage hat. And then it's got
Wow.
the rebel flag on there. Like, Early's living it. Like, he very much.
I think I'm understanding it, but I think maybe I'd have to see it in the context of the show to understand it more. But yeah, that's.
Oh no, I
Yeah.
guarantee you there are people around here that very much likely have that hat. It's funny, and again, it's a thing that you have to kind of think about a little bit. Now,
I guess that's what it is too. It's like, even if I. Yeah.
it's a thinking person show. It really is.
Yes, it
like,
is. It is a thinking person show.
It really is. It's like, it's
Yeah.
not stupid. It's very
No.
smart for what it is. But we're getting to a point before we really start to kind of wrap this up, Nicole. We're getting to that point, but I have to bring something up because
Okay.
after Unknown Henson, Stuart Baker done said what he said about Dolly Dan Parton, he was replaced for the final season of the show 2022. In 2022, That'll show you the context. I just sent it to you, so you can see what the hat looks like.
I understand this hat now. I understand it now.
Yeah.
Seeing it. Yeah.
So,
Yep.
fucking, he was replaced, and they didn't bother to match the voice actor in the slightest.
Mm-hmm.
The show went an entirely different direction. Without looking, can you tell me who you think may have replaced unknown Henson? Okay, cool.
Spoil that for our audience. But
so it's Tracy Morgan is
Yes, it is.
ultimately who replaced Unknown in what is one of the most off-putting changes of lead actor anywhere.
Yeah, awesome.
I mean, okay, so and there's a lot about a lot of like social commentary you can talk about here, and it regardless of anybody's race or anything else. Number one, it's very funny that the guy gets in trouble for saying something about Black Lives Matter, and then is replaced by a black guy. I think that's hysterical. I love it. Problem for me was that Tracy Morgan's voice is way too Tracy Morgan.
Okay.
It's very off-putting. They tried to how do you put it? They tried to bring him into the show in a sort of natural way. If you watch the first episode of the last season, the whole thing is about freedom of speech and being able to say what you want to, right? That's the whole fucking show, is being able to say what you want to say, but there being consequences sometimes, whatever. So when we're first introduced to early in this season, he's got his mouth duct taped up. He's not allowed to go into the Walmart anymore. Which because he didn't quite get there, and that's okay. Later on in the series, they introduced the Walmart, which is their version of Walmart, and everybody in town ends up working at the Walmart. I mean, it's amazing. There's so many characters, Nicole, that we haven't even touched on.
I know.
There's Crystal, who's the natural mother of Rusty, right?
Okay.
The very morbidly obese woman that just lays on a blanket all day.
Oh yes, I do love her. I love her, and just her entire vibe and how they presented her in the show is pretty perfect. They kind of nailed her presence. It's really well done.
I know that woman is the thing. Like, not the lady who played her. I know a person that is her.
Okay.
I know. Okay. I know that lady.
Gotcha.
Which is another reason why I think I love the show so much, is because it reminds me a lot of Westmoreland.
Okay. Oh, I could.
If I'm being honest,
I want to be respectful. I could see that. But I think this ties into kind of like what I said before, where it's like there's an awareness, right? Where like even if I was not raised in the South, I was raised in the Northeast, but there's an awareness regardless that like people make fun of the South. Like you have an awareness that people, will poke fun at the hillbilly thing and et cetera, whatever. And it's not right. It's fucked up that people do that. It's just like fucking doesn't help. And then like this show is like, oh, you're gonna fucking make fun of it? Like, get the fuck out of my way, because like I fucking know it, Well,
but and I'll kind of wrap myself up with this. Okay. David Cross said it best. That voice, that redneck voice.
Yeah.
A voice that goes, hey, man, let me tell you about this. Let me tell you about that.
Yeah.
That voice persists across the country. So
yep.
That voice is in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yep.
That voice is in Barstow, California.
Yep.
That voice is in upstate New York. that voices across the Midwest. Like that person, those cultures, they exist everywhere.
Yes.
And the South catches it the most because I still think after 200 years, there's still hard feelings over this whole Civil War thing.
Perhaps my word choice then shouldn't be that it's poking fun at the South, and maybe just the broader term of like it's poking fun at like a person that is a quote unquote hillbilly, which isn't that's not fair. That's the thing that I don't think is like.
It's part of culture. It's a part of culture.
You know, like
it's
we're aware of like the stereotypes that exist about hillbillies, and the fact that I'm even using the word hillbillies is like weird. It's like that's not. But anyway,
it feels so natural coming out of your mouth, Nicole.
Right, that's the problem, right? That's the problem, and it's like, well, like what do you again? Like
fucking mouth breathing mountaineer motherfuckers.
What do I even know? I don't know anything about that. I've never lived that. That's never been a fucking day of my life that I've lived like that. What?
I hear you, Loki.
You know what I mean?
These fucking redneck cocksuckers. I hear it out of you. I know.
Oh
who
my
you
God!
are.
Look.
I see you.
Look.
I know.
I don't say it. I'm aware of the issue with it being said, and I think it's fucked up.
I don't know. It comes out of that mouth too easy.
And I think that this show does a really good job of, again, like making fun of the right people, punching up, and being like, oh, you think we're fucking idiot weirdos? Guess what? You actually can't keep up with us. You don't know what it's like to like not be able to feed your fucking kid. You actually don't know.
So that's one of my favorite bits in the lottery thing too. They go out, they spend their food money on lotto tickets, and then when the lotto tickets don't pay off, they eat lotto tickets for dinner that night.
And there you go. There you go. There you fucking have it. There you fucking have all of it. This entire fucking episode, dude. Like, unless you know what it's like to have to fucking eat a lotto ticket, shut the fuck up and pay attention.
So, James, and this is a note to our fearless leader, Reeves has actually requested a song to play us out. So, tonight, James, when you go to cut this, when you go to put it together, you you need to include one of two songs. And let me just bring this up in my chat right quick. I don't want to forget.
And I realize what I do. I do this thing where I'm like, oh, you think this way? You think this? And I'm talking to like the haters and I'm not talking to my friends. And I think I should shift how I say that because then your face looked like you were terrified before. And I never want that to happen again.
What?
Like, because I said the same thing before and I was like kind of poking fun at, maybe like yuppie,
I'll make fun of everybody. I don't care. It doesn't bother me.
Me too. What I think is important though is that when I'm like, I'll be like, oh, you think that blah 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 blah, and I think that that's just like I'm not talking to you, Ben. I'm talking to like, okay. I think you get what I'm saying. Anyway, yeah.
You're all good. You don't need to. You're all good. That's a distant
like your
past.
face. I was like, wow, this poor guy's about to shit his fucking pants. I'm like.
Distant past, Nicole. We are beyond it. A note to our editor as we do all of our production meetings on air. Please play us out tonight after we wrap this up with Smart Ass Yankee and a Rebel Court. Okay? That's a song I need you to play by Unknown Henson on our way out tonight. Real quick, Nicole, what are you giving it?
Oh my God. I am giving it. What's the one where Leo miss you? What's the one where he like, okay, James will add this soundbite later. Like, thank you for coming or whatever. I'm coming. Happy to be coming.
Wait. I really enjoy coming.
Yeah, I really enjoy coming.
I really enjoy coming.
Yeah, I really enjoy coming. I
really enjoy coming.
Yep. There you go. This show, Squidbillies, is a masterpiece. It's a shame that it's not watched and celebrated more. It is like so smart that it's like I'm not gonna fucking lie, dude. Like, we lost a lot of great, fucking artists the past couple days. Pee Wee Herman, who in his personal life he's known as Paul Rubens. Sinead O'Connor.
Yep.
There's an actor from Euphoria, Angus Black, I want to say is his name. I'm kind of getting off topic here.
That is. Yeah, I'm a little like.
Anyway, I want to come back to Earth. I'll come back to Earth for everyone. Angus Cloud. I don't know why. Angus Cloud. So I'm going to come back down to Earth now, guys. Sorry, went up there. I think that this show is really fucking good, and I'm really happy I saw it. It's very impactful. I think that there's like people that made really valuable art that we lost recently. That was pretty sad. And like, I'm really fucking happy I watched this show. That's it.
Very nice. Yeah. No, I also came a lot to this show. I love it. So it lives.
I really enjoy coming.
It lives at the top of.
I really enjoy coming.
It lives at the top of my life. I don't know. It's been inside my. It's been inside my sphere for years and years and years, and I don't know. It's a thing that I'll always go back to.
Is it because I'm a pretentious yuppie? That's what it is, isn't it? It's because I grew up in the Northeast that this was off my radar.
No, I just don't think you were into this level of Adult Swim at the time. You're
all right, thank you for
things.
All right, well, thanks for saying that because I was like, oh damn, I'm just
no.
I just missed it because I'm an asshole, not because it was underrated. But okay, fine.
No. Yeah,
awesome.
It largely went by, I think, a lot of people's radars, really and truly, and then with that back end of a production schedule, like it fell off in 2014 and didn't come back until 2016 and then again 2018, right. 2020, 2022.
Okay.
And when you're only doing 9 episodes a season and your seasons are like 2 years apart and you're only on for like 9 weeks during that time and everything else is reruns.
Yeah.
It's easy to get lost in a shuffle.
That's a really good point. And so now it's done. Like, assuming now it's done, that's cool that, like, now it almost feels like now's a really good time to watch it, frankly. I mean, a lot of things have been pulled from streaming services, a lot of, like, lesser-known things, a lot of, lesser-known cartoons specifically. And now it's all there and, like, accessible and collectively together where, like, when things come out season by season, it's like things could easily get missed because, like, wait, what happened last season? That was, like, 3 years ago. I haven't kept up with it. And now it's like, oh, it's all, like... not that I want to, like, fucking toot horns of streaming services, but just for, like, the viewers, that's a cool thing.
Yeah, no, I got no problem with it. No, nobody pays me for nothing, so I don't care. It, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not like,
yeah.
It's not like I'm gonna get what the fuck do you call it? Like paid by any of these people.
They should pay us though.
When I talked to Uwe Boll, I said something stupid about streaming and directing, and then he was like, "Well, you talk like this, you never get the jobs, but I've talked like this for years, I still get the jobs." And I was like, "Thanks, Uwe." But anyway,
nice.
On that note, Nicole, there's a question.
Okay.
Because we are wrapping this up. My happy ass has to get back to my real life right now.
Okay. What's the
question?
What is
the That's what I'm asking you.
Right. There is a question. You're absolutely right. Ben, what is next week?
Yeah. So this was actually your suggestion, Nicole. We're going to watch Father of the Pride.
Hey, let's fucking go. I'm pumped. I'm not going to say anything else about it. I'm super pumped. Super fucking pumped.
We're watching Father of the Pride. I'm going to try and find us third for next Wednesday night, and then we'll see what happens. So I'm very excited.
People get in our DMs, email totally.toonular@gmail.com. If you want to be the third guest, get in there and show us why you should be the,
why you should hang out with us for at least a little while.
There you go. That's a better way to put it. I was gonna say like it's a friggin' like I don't know Survivor episode where you're competing for it, but that's a much nicer approach. Who wants to spend time with us? Send us an email. It'd be very nice. Thank you very much.
Anyway, on that note, once again, this has been totally Toonular. Somehow we have managed to float this boat for tonight, and we're gonna call it an evening. I think John Bergio is gonna play us out with some sweet music to let us know that we're out.
You guys, this is all Kyle's mom's fault. Shut up, Cartman. Kyle's mom is the one that started that damn club, and all because she's a